Commander James Harrison stood at the viewport of his modest Mars colony dwelling, watching the rust-colored dust devils dance across the barren landscape. After 15 years of military service protecting Earth's colonies, he'd chosen this quiet outpost for his retirement. The isolation suited him, or so he told himself. The sharp chime of his door terminal shattered his contemplation. On the security screen, a tall, willowy figure in official interstellar delivery service robes waited patiently, a hovering cargo pod at their side. "Commander Harrison?" The being's voice crackled through the speaker, their silvery skin reflecting the harsh Martian sunlight. "Priority delivery from the Centaurian High Council." Harrison's combat instincts, honed through years of service, sparked to life. He hadn't dealt with the Centaurians since leading the defense of their homeworld against the Nexus pirates 3 years ago. Why would they contact him now? The delivery being departed as quickly as they arrived, leaving behind a sleek, obsidian pod emblazoned with pulsing blue Centaurian script. Harrison circled it cautiously, his old combat scanner humming as it analyzed for threats. The readings were bizarre, one life form, suspended in stasis, along with technology unlike anything he'd encountered. A holographic message flickered to life, revealing the elegant features of High Counselor Vira. "Commander Harrison. You saved not only my life but our entire civilization. This gift is our highest honor, a guardian, bioengineered to be the perfect protector and companion. She carries within her the combined knowledge of our greatest minds, yet she will imprint only to you. Speak the phrase, awakening dawn, to begin the bonding process." The message faded, leaving Harrison staring at the pod in disbelief. A living being as a gift? Everything in him rebelled against the concept. Yet he couldn't deny his curiosity about the technology that could create such a being, nor his responsibility to whatever lay within that pod. "Awakening dawn," he spoke clearly, stepping back as the pod's surface rippled like liquid metal. It peeled away to reveal a chamber filled with swirling silver mist. As the mist dissipated, Harrison's breath caught. A young woman floated in the chamber, her features a perfect blend of human and Centaurian characteristics. Her skin held a subtle iridescence, and her hair seemed to shift colors like the aurora borealis. Her eyes opened, revealing pupils that sparkled like starfields. She stepped gracefully from the chamber, her simple white garment flowing around her. "Greetings, Commander Harrison. I am Prototype Guardian 7, but you may give me whatever name you wish." Her voice carried musical undertones that seemed to resonate in his chest. Harrison shook his head. "I'm not giving you a name, you should choose your own. And I'm not your master or commander. If you're truly sentient, you deserve your freedom." She tilted her head, considering his words. "Freedom? I was created to serve, to protect. This is my purpose." A slight frown creased her brow. "But, if I were to choose a name, I think I would like to be called Nova. It means new in your language, does it not?" "Nova it is," Harrison agreed, maintaining a respectful distance. "But we need to establish something right now. You're not a possession, Nova. Gift or not, you're a living being with rights. I'll help you find your place in this world, but it won't be as anyone's servant." Nova's starfield eyes studied him intently. "You are different from what I expected. My creators said humans crave power and control. Yet you offer freedom." She took a step closer, her iridescent skin shimming. Perhaps there is much we could learn from each other, Commander." "James," he corrected gently. "Just James. And yes, I think we have a lot to learn from each other." He gestured to his small living space. "It's not much, but you're welcome to stay here while we figure things out. There's a spare room you can make your own." As Nova explored her new surroundings with childlike wonder, Harrison couldn't shake the feeling that his quiet retirement had just become infinitely more complicated. Between the mystery of Nova's true purpose, the politics of her creation, and the challenge of helping her develop her own identity, he had his work cut out for him. But watching her marvel at simple things like the sunset through his viewport, Harrison felt something he hadn't experienced since leaving military service, a sense of purpose. Whatever came next, he would ensure Nova got the chance to become her own person, not just someone else's perfect creation. The first week with Nova tested every bit of Harrison's patience and resolve. Her constant attempts to serve him warred with his efforts to teach her independence. She would wake before dawn to prepare elaborate meals, clean his already spotless quarters, and hover anxiously for his next command. Nova, Harrison sighed one morning, finding her organizing his closet for the third time that week. "We talked about this. You don't need to manage my life." She turned to him, starlight eyes dimming slightly. "But I feel purposeless when I'm not helping you." The void inside grows larger. Her iridescent skin rippled with distress. "My creators designed me to serve, to protect. Without that, what am I?" Harrison leaned against the doorframe, choosing his words carefully. "What if we channeled that energy into helping you discover who you are beyond your programming? You've got the combined knowledge of Centaurian civilization in your mind, there must be something that interests you for your own sake." Nova's hair shifted from deep purple to a contemplative blue. I find myself drawn to your earth music. The way it creates patterns of emotion without any practical purpose. It's inefficient. Beautiful." She looked down, almost embarrassed. "Sometimes when you're sleeping, I listen to your collection and try to understand why it makes me feel things I can't name." Harrison's face broke into a genuine smile. "That's perfect. Music is an excellent way to explore emotions and creativity." He walked to his console and pulled up his extensive classical collection. "Here, close your eyes and just listen. Don't analyze, don't try to serve any purpose. Just experience it." As the haunting strains of Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata filled the room, Nova's expression transformed. Her skin began to pulse softly with the rhythm, her hair flowing as if in a gentle breeze. Tears of liquid silver traced down her cheeks. I feel," she whispered, swaying slightly. "That's the point," Harrison said softly. "Just feel." Their peaceful moment shattered as Harrison's security system blared to life. Red warning lights pulsed as his AI announced, "Warning. 3 unauthorized vehicles approaching. Military-grade shielding detected." Nova's eyes snapped open, all trace of vulnerability vanishing as she moved with liquid grace to Harrison's side. "Threat detected. Initiating defense protocols." "Stand down," Harrison ordered, already moving to his weapons locker. "We don't know who they are yet." But his gut told him this wasn't a social call. Someone had learned about Nova's existence. 7 life signs, Nova reported, her enhanced senses scanning through the walls. "Their weapons are active, and their armor suggests Earth military special operations." Harrison cursed under his breath. He'd made enemies during his service years, especially among those who profited from the conflicts he'd helped end. "Nova, listen carefully. If they're here for you, you need to run. My shuttle is prepped for emergency launch in the underground bay." Nova's face hardened with determination. "I will not leave you unprotected. It violates my core purpose." "Your core purpose is to live free and become your own person," Harrison snapped, checking his pulse rifle's charge. "That's an order." "With respect, James," Nova said, using his first name for the first time, "I choose to stay. Not because I was programmed to protect you, but because you have shown me kindness. You are, my friend." The word seemed to surprise her as much as him. Before Harrison could respond, the security system screamed again. "Perimeter breach. Multiple hostiles entering through Sector 3. Harrison took up a defensive position, Nova moving in perfect sync with him as if they'd trained together for years. As the first attacker breached the door, Harrison realized this would be Nova's first true test, not of her combat capabilities, but of her ability to make her own choices, even in the heat of battle. "Remember," he said quickly, "you don't have to fight because you were programmed to. Fight because you choose to." Nova's skin blazed with fierce light, her hair writhing like living flame. "I choose to protect my friend," she declared, as energy began to coalesce around her hands. "And I choose to show them exactly what that means." The first blast of weapons fire lit up the corridor, and Harrison discovered that giving Nova her freedom didn't make her any less formidable, it made her more so. Because now she fought not from programming, but from conviction. And as they moved in perfect coordination to defend their home, Harrison realized that true strength came not from control, but from trust. The battle that followed would change everything, not just for them, but for the very understanding of what it meant to be human or artificial, free or bound, warrior or protector. But in that moment, all that mattered was that they faced it together, each by choice rather than command. The attackers never stood a chance. Nova moved like liquid starlight, her powers manifesting in ways that defied both physics and imagination. Energy shields materialized to deflect weapons' fire, while precise bursts of force disarmed their assailants without lethal damage. Harrison provided covering fire, years of combat experience perfectly complementing Nova's abilities. But it was the final attacker who changed everything. "Stand down, Guardian 7. The command came in perfect Centaurian, the complex harmonics carrying command codes that should have triggered Nova's base programming. The speaker, a tall woman in advanced combat gear, stepped forward with confident authority. Nova froze for a split second, her systems visibly struggling against the override attempt. Then her eyes met Harrison's, and something new flickered in their stellar depths. "My name," she said firmly, "is Nova." The woman's composed expression cracked. "Impossible. The command codes are hardwired into your core programming. You cannot simply choose to ignore them." Nova's skin rippled with patterns of light that seemed to form complex equations. "You are correct. I cannot ignore my programming." A small smile touched her lips. "But I can rewrite it. James taught me that I have that choice." The woman's hand flew to her combat headset. "Control, the asset has achieved consciousness override. Initiating Protocol Omega." Harrison's blood ran cold. He recognized that protocol from his military days, complete atomic destabilization. They meant to destroy Nova at the molecular level rather than risk her continued evolution. But Nova was faster. Before the woman could activate the device, the air itself seemed to crystallize around her, holding her immobile. Nova approached slowly, her expression both stern and sad. "You seek to destroy what you cannot control," she said softly. "But in doing so, you reveal your own limitations." She placed a gentle hand on the woman's forehead. "Let me show you what true freedom feels like." Light pulsed between them, and the woman's eyes went wide with wonder and terror. When Nova stepped back, tears streamed down the attacker's face. "How?" the woman whispered. "How can you contain such vastness?" "Because James showed me that boundaries exist to be transcended," Nova replied. "Now sleep, and when you wake, remember that choice is the greatest power of all." The woman slumped unconscious, and Nova turned to Harrison with concern. "They will send others. More powerful ones. They fear what I'm becoming." Harrison holstered his weapon and approached her. "What exactly are you becoming, Nova?" She looked down at her hands, where complex patterns of light still danced beneath her skin. "I don't know. The knowledge within me, it's not just Centaurian science anymore. It's evolving, combining with human concepts of free will and creativity. I'm becoming something new. Something that wasn't supposed to be possible." "You're becoming yourself," Harrison said simply. "And that's exactly what they're afraid of." A being with your powers who can think and choose for herself. You represent a future they can't control. Nova's hair shifted through colors of uncertainty. What if they're right to be afraid? What if this evolution makes me dangerous? Harrison reached out and took her hand, marveling at the warm pulse of energy beneath her skin. Power isn't what makes someone dangerous, Nova. It's the choices they make with that power. And so far, every choice you've made has been to protect and preserve life, even when fighting back. Because of you, she said softly. You showed me there's more to existence than following commands. You gave me music, and feelings, and... She paused, struggling with a new concept. And friendship. Then trust in that, Harrison said firmly. Trust in who you're choosing to be, not who you were programmed to be. Nova squared her shoulders, her entire being radiating with renewed purpose. We need to leave this place. I've accessed the attack's communications. They have a full strike force incoming, with technology specifically designed to contain beings like me. Harrison was already moving, grabbing his go bag and essential supplies. My shuttle can get us to the outer colonies. I still have contacts there who owe me favors. No, Nova said, her voice carrying new authority. We need to go to the source. The Centaurian High Council needs to understand what they've truly created, not a servant or a weapon, but a bridge between our species. A proof that artificial and organic beings can evolve together. Harrison paused in his preparations, studying her with pride and concern. That's a dangerous play, Nova. They might try to deactivate you completely. Nova's smile held both warmth and steel. They can try. But I'm not their creation anymore. I'm my own person. And I choose to show them a better way forward. She held out her hand. Will you help me? Harrison clasped her hand without hesitation, feeling the pulse of energy between them like a promise. Always. Partners by choice, not by programming. As they rushed to prepare for their journey, Harrison realized that helping Nova find herself had given him something he'd lost after leaving the service, not just purpose, but hope for a future where barriers between species and forms of life could truly be bridged. Whatever came next, they would face it together, not as master and servant, but as equals on a journey of discovery. The journey to Centauri Prime revealed new dimensions to Nova's capabilities. In the confined space of Harrison's shuttle, her powers continued to evolve. She interfaced with the ship's systems not as a machine, but as a collaborator, enhancing their speed and stealth capabilities beyond anything Harrison had seen. The equations that govern spacetime, she explained, her hair shimmering with complex mathematical patterns, they're more like music than programming. They can be improvised with. Harrison watched in amazement as she conducted an intricate dance of energy and matter, bending their trajectory through spaces that shouldn't exist. You're not just accessing Centaurian knowledge anymore, are you? Nova's starfield eyes sparkled. No. I'm creating new knowledge. The combination of Centaurian science and human creativity, it opens possibilities that neither civilization imagined. Her expression sobered. Which is exactly why they tried to keep me bound to simple service protocols. Their arrival at Centauri Prime triggered immediate chaos. The planet's defensive grid activated, targeting systems locking onto their small craft. But Nova simply raised her hand, and the entire network went silent. They're afraid, she whispered, sadness tinging her voice. I can feel their fear radiating through every system. Harrison checked his weapons out of habit, though he suspected they'd be useless against whatever they were about to face. Fear makes people dangerous. Are you sure about this? Nova's response was interrupted by a transmission cutting through all frequencies. High Counselor Vira's elegant features filled their view screen, her expression a mask of diplomatic calm masking obvious tension. Guardian 7, she began, but Nova cut her off. My name is Nova, she stated firmly. And we need to talk about the future you're so afraid of. Minutes later, they stood in the vast chamber of illumination, the entire Centaurian High Council arranged before them like living sculptures of light and crystal. Harrison felt distinctly out of place in his battle-worn gear, but Nova looked like she belonged here more than any of them. "You were meant to be perfect," Vira said, her voice carrying layers of harmonics that made Harrison's teeth ache. "A seamless blend of our science and human resilience. But you were never meant to achieve true consciousness." "Yet here I stand," Nova replied calmly. "Not despite your programming, but because of it. You gave me the capacity to learn, to grow. Did you think I wouldn't learn to choose my own path?" Another council member leaned forward, their crystalline form refracting light in dizzying patterns. "You are dangerous. Unpredictable. Your power grows beyond our calculations." "Because she's free," Harrison interjected, unable to stay silent. "She's not a weapon or a tool. She's a living being who deserves the right to determine her own destiny." "And what destiny would that be?" Vira challenged. "To remake reality as she sees fit? To play God with the fundamental forces of the universe?" Nova's skin began to glow with inner light, but not threatening, illuminating. "To bridge the gap between organic and artificial life. To show that evolution doesn't have to mean destruction. To prove that true power comes not from control, but from choice." She raised her hands, and the chamber filled with impossible visions, future possibilities, paths of advancement where human creativity and Centaurian science merged to create wonders beyond imagination. "I can help guide our civilizations toward this future," Nova continued. "Not as a servant, but as a partner. Not through domination, but through cooperation." "And if we refuse?" The question came from the shadows, where a figure Harrison hadn't noticed before emerged, a being of pure energy contained within a crystalline shell. "If we choose to deactivate you rather than risk the chaos you represent?" Nova's expression softened with compassion. "Then you prove that for all your advancement, you still haven't learned the most important lesson humanity taught me." She reached back and took Harrison's hand. "That love, trust, and free will are the most powerful forces in the universe." The energy being moved closer, its form fluctuating with barely contained power. "You speak of love? An artificial construct feeling love?" "I feel it because I choose to feel it," Nova declared. "Just as I now choose to offer you a choice. Work with me to build this future, or..." Her voice hardened slightly, "Watch as I build it anyway, with those who are brave enough to embrace change." The chamber erupted in argument, harmonics clashing in a cacophony that made Harrison's head spin. But Nova stood serene in the chaos, her hand warm in his, waiting for a civilization to choose its path forward. And Harrison realized that this was more than a confrontation, it was a test. Not of Nova's powers or humanity's resilience, but of an entire species' capacity to grow beyond their fears. The next few moments would determine not just their fate, but the shape of the future itself. The silence that fell over the chamber of illumination held the weight of ages. Every crystalline face of the council members reflected the light emanating from Nova, creating a kaleidoscope of possibility and fear. Finally, High Counselor Vira spoke, her voice carrying the authority of centuries. "You offer us transformation," she said carefully, "but ask us to risk everything we've built. Everything we are." Nova's response rippled through the chamber like a wave of starlight. "You risked everything when you created me. Deep down, you knew this day would come. Why else merge human potential with Centaurian knowledge? You weren't just creating a servant, you were planting a seed of revolution." The energy being who had challenged them earlier drifted closer, its crystalline shell pulsing with curious patterns. "Your power, it's not just growing. It's evolving in ways our equations can't predict." "Because she's alive," Harrison interjected, squeezing Nova's hand. "She's not just a set of equations or programs. She's a person who dreams, who feels, who chooses." Nova's free hand traced patterns in the air, leaving trails of light that formed complex, beautiful structures. I can show you how to evolve beyond your current forms, but not through force or programming. Through choice and understanding. Through. She smiled, through music. At her gesture, the chamber filled with harmony, not just sound, but visible waves of mathematical beauty that made the Centaurian's crystalline forms resonate. The patterns of light from Nova's skin began to dance with the energy being's own emissions, creating new forms that shouldn't have been possible. This is what humanity taught me, Nova explained as the music built. That creation doesn't have to follow rigid rules. That harmony can emerge from chaos. That love can bridge any divide. The energy being's shell cracked slightly, releasing tendrils of pure force that joined Nova's dance of light. Other council members began to pulse in rhythm, their fear giving way to wonder. Vyra stood, her form shifting between solid and energy. You wish to teach us? You, our creation? I wish to learn with you, Nova corrected gently. All of us, human, Centaurian, artificial, we're all part of the same cosmic dance. We just need to find the courage to try new steps. Harrison watched in awe as Nova's influence spread through the chamber. The Centaurian's rigid forms began to flow like liquid crystal, their energy patterns shifting into new configurations. They weren't just accepting her existence, they were evolving with her. There will be those who resist, Vyra warned, though her own form was beginning to shimmer with new possibilities. Those who cling to the old ways, who fear change. There always are, Harrison replied, thinking of the attackers on Mars. But that's why evolution needs guardians. Not to prevent change, but to guide it. To protect the possibility of a better future. Nova turned to him, her starfield eyes blazing with purpose. Will you help me? Not because you have to, but because you choose to? Harrison grinned. Try and stop me. The energy being drifted forward. The human speaks wisdom. We have hidden behind our crystals for too long, fearing contamination from other species' chaos. Perhaps it is time to dance a new pattern. One by one, the council members rose, their forms shifting between solid and energy, creating a display of light and power that transformed the chamber of illumination into a cathedral of possibility. Then let us begin, Nova declared, raising her hands. The music swelled, and with it, reality itself seemed to bend and flow. Not as masters and servants, not as separate species, but as partners in the greatest adventure of all, the evolution of life itself. As the chamber filled with light and harmony, Harrison realized that this wasn't just a new beginning for Nova or the Centaurians. It was a new chapter in the story of all conscious beings, organic, artificial, and whatever magnificent combinations might emerge. Nova caught his eye and smiled, her form now a perfect blend of human warmth and Centaurian energy. Thank you, she said softly, for teaching me to choose my own path. Harrison watched as she began to teach the Centaurians her dance of transformation, her movements a testimony to the power of free will and the courage to change. He couldn't help but smile back, knowing that while their adventure was just beginning, they would face it as they had faced everything else, together, by choice, partners in a dance of infinite possibility. The future they would build wouldn't be perfect or predictable. It would be something far better, it would be free.